If we try to look at the big challenges that humanity has faced, I would say one of the most important parts is we consider ourselves outside of nature. That's wrong from the beginning, but we got used to it. Entonces, algo muy importante, la naturaleza es lo que nos permite estar vivos, ¿cierto? Nos da el aire, nos da el agua, nos da la comida. Nosotros somos parte de la naturaleza, ¿cierto? Entonces tenemos que aprender a convivir con la naturaleza. We made a big mistake educating children, adults, that we need to take care of nature. Nature takes care of itself. What we should have been teaching is, if nature does not function, we don't exist. We depend on nature. If we learn from nature, we have a chance to move forward.
The fundamental reason why we find ourselves in the environmental crisis that we do is because we lost our sense of connection with nature. Our society moved from one that worked with nature and within nature to one that extracts, uses, and discards. That is the first disconnect that we urgently need to heal if we're going to move into a better world.
We are taught to think linear, and changes are happening. But that is not how nature works. And because everything is becoming exponential, we're not really prepared to understand the urgency. We are in planetary collapse. It's not coming, it's here.
In the Western world, the goal of the economy was so deep and implicit, we never actually discussed it. But it was endless economic growth, shaped just like this, a growth curve rising forever up and through the ceiling. And it's true that growth is a wonderful, healthy phase of life. We love to see our children grow. We love to see plants and trees and nature grow. But nothing in nature grows forever.
The dominant assumption is that every industry must grow, must increase production every year, perpetually, forever, regardless of whether or not we actually need it. And in the middle of an ecological emergency is clearly madness, because growth requires energy, and the more energy you use, the more difficult it is to decarbonize rapidly.
How do we find solutions? We have to look at nature.
We need a compass, a vision for what human flourishing looks like in the 21st century. And funny though it sounds, it looks like a donut. We need to take this linear, degenerative economic system and turn it into a circular or cyclical regenerative system, where we're not using up Earth's resources, we're using them again and again, far more carefully, collectively, so that we work with and within the cycles of the living world. There's one country that's closer than any other to getting into the donut, and that's Costa Rica, because it's closer to meeting people's needs, almost within the means of the living planet.
In 2002, I owned a chemical factory in Holland. It was a very stressful time, and I had a small heart attack. It was a good warning sign. And I decided it was a time to go ahead and change my life. I saw this place, it was paradise. I fell in love with Costa Rica. I decided I was going to go ahead and try to create a community. What is Rancho Margot? People call it a lot of things. A resort, a farm, a living university. And it's all those things. For me, Rancho Margot is a living organism. It's an experiment.
Rancho Margot gives us the possibility to see how a system works. It is the birthplace of regeneration for me.
Regeneration is a concept that basically looks at nature and says, well, this is what nature does. The system itself is designed in such a way that it is almost perpetual.
Whatever is left over from one system is food for another system. The leftovers from the restaurant can go to feed the animals. The compost goes to the orchard and produces more food. And then you see everything tying in together. And I wouldn't call it circular economy. I would call it letting nature be. That's how a forest works. Juan has been very creative in imitating this.
Yo este sitio lo conozco desde hace 16 años. Juan estaba empezando con el proyecto de Rancho Margot, entonces no estaba la vegetación que está ahora. Aquí hace 20 años era un potrero dedicado a la ganadería, pero una ganadería extensiva que era realmente dañina para el suelo y para el ecosistema. Y aquí podemos ver cómo hay plantas pioneras que son las primeras que surgen en un sistema en regeneración, que crecen muy rápido y que van generando las condiciones para que otras plantas se desarrollen aquí. Entonces este proceso de regeneración justamente es un proceso de cómo unas especies generan condiciones de vida para otras especies. El propósito es demostrar que se puede producir y vivir de manera autosuficiente, produciendo pues, los alimentos, la energía, de manera sostenible y regenerativa. Realmente van mucho más allá.
These small changes are immense. I mean, if you think even at the human scale, it's the little things that kill you. You can cut both arms off and still have a life, but if your chemical composition is changed just a tiny little bit, you're dead.
We can not only think on planting trees as a solution to capture carbon, because as the climate gets hotter and drier, we're seeing forest burn. If we look at nature, nature has been capable of pulling CO2 from the sky and putting it beneath our feet. If we can work with cattle, instead of thinking we need to get rid of all the cattle, we do holistic grazing approaches.
We need to understand that the perfect is the enemy of the good. And if the cow is not perfect, does not mean that it's not good. A well-run pasture who manages cattle the way they should be managed, you get carbon sequestration into that soil that way outweighs whatever negative consequences the methane production of that cow is.
So if we add regenerative agriculture and some cattle grazing with regenerative agriculture, we can capture almost 150% of carbon every year of the emissions.
We were certified carbon neutral with a negative footprint of 1,275 tons. We are contributing somewhere between $150,000 and $450,000 every year to the world ecosystem. We've known that we've had the solutions. We've known for a long time what we can do. But how do we change the behavior?
I think any business should have a triple output for life, for people, and for business. I'm not against profit. The more profit, the better. More money to invest. We cannot grow infinitely. It won't work. Nature does not work like that.
Where we're losing the battle, the industry comes out with something new and the consumer starts going crazy again and discarding things that are perfectly good, that served us well. So everybody's looking for that new shiny new thing, when in reality we need to look at things a little bit more.
I agree fully. 100%.
And there are huge chunks of our economy that are totally irrelevant to human well-being, and we would be better off without them. We should always be asking, growth of what, and for whose benefits? $1,000 worth of tear gas and bombs is valued exactly the same as $1,000 worth of healthcare. It should be clear to people that aggregate growth in GDP has no necessary relationship to human well-being or to social progress or anything like that.
GDP, it never measures development. As it grows, inequality grows. Many people idealize Norway or Sweden or Germany as countries that have achieved full development. But if you look at the planetary boundaries, they're so far exceeded that they're completely underdeveloped countries because they were able to satisfy their social needs by being a parasite to other countries, to the rest of the world, taking resources way above, way beyond their country ceiling. That is not development. Because if all countries were like Norway, we'd be dead already.
There's not one single country in the world that should call itself developed. That said, it's Costa Rica and Jordan and Colombia and Mauritius that are closer than others. On a far more modest income per capita, it is possible to provide decent lives for all people close to within the means of the planet.
You would say Costa Rica is the poorest nation in the world because it had none of the riches that were valued before. We have no fossil fuels, we have no metals, we have no minerals. Today we realize that was a blessing because having no fossil fuels, we had no other option but to produce all electricity with clean energies.
And this is a really important example because it gives us hope that there is the possibility of getting there.
We need to build a better system that will make the old and obsolete a lot faster. And if we can bring bioregions to regenerate life, not only human life, but all life forms, we'll start moving into a better society that won't even care about GDP.
But the truth of the matter is that we today are in a moment in time where we can go back and reconnect. That's the first thing. Without us, nature's still there, but it just becomes a little bit less.
Some people wish for a worse crisis to make us change. I don't. I think we have enough of a crisis right now. We have to understand that this is a moment for fundamental mindset change and not have any patience for those who are not willing to collectively contribute to that.
There's no excuse for us not being connected to nature because we always had it. But you can't love what you don't know. You need to go ahead and experience it. And once you experience it, you have to learn to experience it. In other words, driving through nature doesn't do it. I think that's a human choice that we have to make.
And to understand that we're all interconnected, that we are all part of the same web of life. And if we understand that, our sense of what is right and what is wrong would fundamentally shift.
Una mariposa, por ejemplo, es una inspiración de regeneración clarísima. Es una oruga que se envuelve en un capullo, se degrada completamente. O sea, deja de ser una oruga y todas sus células y todo su sistema se reestructura para convertirse en una mariposa y generar pues un individuo completamente diferente. Entonces la naturaleza no es solo la función que nos da, es también qué nos inspira y cómo podemos aprender de ella.
I worked for many, many decades trying to change mindsets, and we won't be able to change mindsets at the speed we need to. I don't see the people that fly in private jets not flying in private jets. So if we do regenerative practices that can bring up biodiversity, that can store carbon, that can harvest water, that can make rivers flow again, and bring life back, we can do that without taking away the jets of anybody, without taking away consumption. I'm not saying we shouldn't work on reducing consumption and changing mindset. I'm just saying we don't have currently the capability of doing it on time. The people sitting on those glass buildings can still be talking about GDP. If there's the culture, if there's the active society, nobody will be able to stop it.
What's that?
¿Qué sabes del cambio climático?
El cambio climático es un problema para la naturaleza porque llueve mucho, hace mucho sol, a veces se pone muy frío, muy caliente. La capa del sol que tenemos nosotros se vuelve más caliente y más hasta que se vuelve súper caliente.
¿Cómo podemos mejorar nuestra vida?
La polinización es algo muy importante en el ciclo de la vida, porque los animalitos o los insectos que polinizan las plantas, si ellos no polinizaran, nosotros nos quedaríamos sin plantas de alimentos.
If we're going to change the deep mindsets we've inherited, it starts in the classroom. Teaching today's students the ideas that actually serve them. And I think we do this through showing places that are actually beginning to try to turn around. And through drawing new images that give us literally a new picture of the kind of economy we want to create.
La pregunta aquí sería, ¿qué condiciones estamos generando nosotros para que las personas que vienen después de nosotros tengan también condiciones favorables para desarrollarse? Entonces la regeneración también la podemos entender como un proceso de sucesión y de generar condiciones para que la vida florezca.
Con la capa de pasto encima, la lluvia no lava el suelo.
The question is, what do we teach? We have to teach them creativity. If you want to love nature, it's not always about math, it's also about spirit.
We need to now learn that we can only move forward by collaborating. So it's not competition, it's collaborating. It's coming together. And I think youth is ready for that. I think that's the only way we can change the system.
I want other people to learn from what we did and do it better. That would be, for me, making me happy. We need to make the best of our time here and try to do as little damage as possible and enjoy life as much as we can.
Tenemos esa responsabilidad de buscar los espacios y las formas de que nuestros hijos se conecten con esa naturaleza. Hablamos mucho de dejar un buen planeta para las futuras generaciones. ¿Qué planeta le vamos a dejar a nuestros hijos? Y realmente a mí una de las cosas que más me preocupa como persona, como mamá que soy, es qué persona le estoy dejando al planeta.